Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, reporting to you from the Overflow Room. And I wanted to do just a quick little sequel or update or what's that paragon, like the paragon to the Sinfonia Domestica by Strauss, the little appendix to our talk on the complete Decca recordings of Peter Maag, the Swiss conductor. Very, very interesting tale that I think needs telling, because after his Decca career ended and before he passed away in the digital era, he made three big sets. One of them was a complete Beethoven cycle. One of them was a pile of Mozart symphonies, and one of them was the complete Mendelssohn symphonies. And it's very, very interesting to hear some of these recordings, although I have to say straight off, I didn't even keep the Beethoven cycle. It was with, let me see, I have it here, the Orchestra di Padova e del Veneto. Not great Beethoven, not terrible Beethoven. It's like everything Maag did. He was a very sensitive musician, a very, you say, musicianly musician. I mean, everything he did was serious and tasteful. But is it exciting Beethoven? No, not really. Not by modern orchestra standards. And he did it, at a time where he was already beginning to sound anachronistic because all the period instrument people were weighing in with Beethoven cycles. And we had a very different sense of what Beethoven could be. And his approach to Beethoven is as if none of that stuff ever existed. Now, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that if you're going to be thrilling in the modern orchestra way, and he simply wasn't. So I'm telling you that now, just so you know. It's really very interesting because, he was an assistant of Furtwängler and of Ansermet, and so you'd think his Beethoven would have some kind of particular distinctiveness, but it doesn't. It's just average, decent Beethoven that really doesn't require much of a second listen. The other things, however, are a little bit different. With the same orchestra, he did this Mozart thing. Now, he was always a fabulous Mozart conductor, and this contains a lot of Mozart that he didn't record commercially otherwise. You get the two late symphonies, 40 and 41. In fact, you get all the late symphonies, 38 and 39, and then you get 35, 36, and 31, 32, 33, 34. So basically all of the late Mozart symphonies, and it's or late-ish, because Mozart and early and late doesn't really mean anything. But they're very, very good performances, very lovely. They are on the Arts Music label. Whether they're still available or not, I don't know. You may be able to find them. And it's really nice to have him doing more Mozart. I mean, it was really a specialty of his, and he did Mozart with extreme sympathy and taste and idiomatic flair. Very, very good. Also quite good are the Mendelssohn symphonies. Not quite perhaps as good as his original Mendelssohn Symphony No. 3, but this is with the Madrid Symphony Orchestra, I believe. Yes, the Orquesta Sinfónica de Madrid, and not the world's greatest orchestra. Let's not kid ourselves. And even a musician who might have become a really fine orchestra trainer, like Maag, wasn't able to turn them into a world-class ensemble, but the music isn't that difficult to do. And there again, this is good, solid Mendelssohn. But it's very, very funny. When Maag did his original Mendelssohn recordings for Decca in the early 1960s, they were special. They were special in that there were not that many Mendelssohn cycles around. There were plenty of recordings of the music, for sure, but there was a distinctiveness about those performances and a specialness because he only did the Third Symphony and the Midsummer Night's Dream and the Hebrides Overture. That's what he did. And it was a wonderful little foray into Mendelssohn's music. Again, doing it again in the 90s, when we had all these Mendelssohn cycles and great ones. We had Abados, we had Dochnanis, we had, plenty of people doing that music. And there had been a lot of conductors since. He doesn't make as great an impression as he did back in the 60s when there was less of it, and he was able to distinguish himself. Also, I think as a younger conductor, too. Here he's an older guy, and he's giving what we might call his last thoughts on the music. Lovely performances, very well recorded. I enjoy this Mendelssohn cycle, but it's maybe redundant now. I mean, haven't we seen it over and over again, the same story, where a conductor who does something wonderfully does a remake? And you have to ask yourself, just the existence of a remake begs the question, what was wrong with the first one? Why did he do it again? Does he have something totally new and different to bring to the picture? Sometimes that's true. Remember Bernstein's Tchaikovsky Pathétique, for example, the second one, which was really out there compared to the first one, where he rethought his approach to the music. Maag has not done that. Maag has given us a Scottish symphony that really isn't as good as his first Scottish symphony, and then all of the others, which we didn't have from him. And it's nice that we have them from him. I'm glad we have them from him. But are you going to want to get this Mendelssohn cycle in preference to all of the many, many Mendelssohn cycles that are available and which are very, very good, just as good as this, with better orchestras, maybe better sonics here and there? I mean, all these sound very good. I can't judge for you. All I can say is that even a conductor who had a reputation and a discography that was as limited as Maag's was not immune from the disease of repetitiousitis, of remakes, of redoing things and revisiting territory that he'd conquered before. The Mozart, I think, is more important because his Mozart, first of all, we have more of a picture of what it was from the bulk of it that he did previously, the 8 discs in the Decca set, and also because there's so much that he hasn't done. The Mendelssohn has the other 4 symphonies that he didn't do. But somehow I get the sense that it wouldn't have mattered had he stuck around to redo all this repertoire that everybody else was doing. Because when you put it together with the Beethoven, you have a conductor whose overall achievement was not in the top echelon. That's the sad truth. You don't want to say it, because he was a lovable guy apparently, and he was very, very highly respected. But sometimes there's a reason that somebody doesn't have a stellar career or doesn't go on to make 400,000 records. A lot of people who don't deserve it do just that, and some people who do deserve it don't do it, and some people, I think, get the acclaim that is due them. And the judgment of history kind of gets it right. And I think Maag is one of those people for whom the judgment of history got it right. He was a minor talent, and the great things that he had in him, were captured for posterity, or a lot of them were. There may have been other things. Who knows? I mean, he could have been, the world's greatest Max Reger conductor, and we'll never know. We'll never know. But we do know. What we do know is that these remakes and additions are good to have, pleasant to have. They don't disgrace anybody, but they just aren't all that necessary. And that may be a sad summary for a career of some of these people, but I think if you've got the Decca box, you're in very good shape. So do not sweat not having these. If they do come back, or if they're available somehow, you can sample them at your will. Including that Beethoven cycle. But you're not, I'm just telling you, don't always go running after the holy grail of that lost, deleted recording. We have plenty of reasons to rail at the record industry and grouse and fetch and do all those things. But, this isn't one of them. It's just not one of them. So keep on listening, folks. Thanks for joining me. Take care.